Chosen one, they mocked you, now heaven is responding. Before you dismiss this as coincidence, pause. Because what you thought was just noise, the whispers, the smirks, the sideways glances, has already crossed a boundary you cannot see. The laughter that echoed behind your back did not disappear into thin air. It traveled. It rose. And it reached a place higher than any room you've ever entered. Chosen one, they mocked you because they mistook your silence for weakness. They watched you endure without reacting. They saw you lose without collapsing. They saw you step back without defending yourself. And in their limited understanding, restraint looked like defeat. They laughed because they thought heaven was silent too. But heaven was not silent. Every sarcastic tone. Every subtle humiliation. Every time they made you the punchline to feel powerful. It was recorded. Not to destroy them impulsively. Not to embarrass them emotionally. But to prepare something far more precise, a public reversal that does not need your defense to activate. You wondered why you felt the sting so deeply. Why their words lingered longer than you expected. Why certain nights felt heavier than they should have. It wasn't because you were fragile. It was because you were chosen. And when mockery targets the chosen, it never stays casual. There is a difference between random ridicule and strategic opposition. What you experienced was strategic. They sensed something about you that threatened their comfort. Your discipline unsettled them. Your calmness irritated them. Your refusal to compete exposed their insecurity. So they tried the oldest tactic known to insecure spirits: diminish what they cannot dominate. But here is what they never calculated. Mockery is evidence. While they were performing for an audience, heaven was building a case. While they were collecting laughs, heaven was collecting proof. And proof, when presented at the right time, shifts entire atmospheres. You don't see it yet, but something is aligning behind the curtain. Positions are being adjusted. Conversations are happening without your name being defended, because your defense is no longer necessary. There is a reason you felt held back instead of vindicated immediately. A reason justice didn't arrive the moment you were misunderstood. Immediate reaction would have satisfied emotion. Delayed response is about to magnify impact. Because when heaven responds, it doesn't whisper. It demonstrates. And the demonstration being prepared will not require you to argue, explain, or expose anyone. It will speak for itself. Right now, some of them still think they won. They believe their commentary shaped perception. They assume their laughter defined your value. But what they don't know is that the very stage they used to belittle you is about to become the stage where your elevation is undeniable. Publicly. The same environment that heard their jokes will witness your shift. The same circles that doubted your potential will watch doors open without you knocking. And when it happens, it won't look dramatic. It will look effortless. That is what will disturb them most. Effortless elevation after intentional humiliation. You have been tempted to defend yourself. To clarify misunderstandings. To correct narratives. But restraint was your assignment. Silence was your positioning. Because when heaven prepares a reversal, it removes your fingerprints from the process. So no one can say you manipulated it. No one can say you campaigned for it. No one can say you begged for it. They will have to admit. Something higher intervened. Chosen one, do not let delayed vindication trick you into self-doubt. The delay was not abandonment. It was accumulation. The laughter accumulated. The disrespect accumulated. The arrogance accumulated. And now, the response is accumulating. You may still feel overlooked today. You may still sense that nothing has changed outwardly. But spiritually, something irreversible has already begun. Favor is being repositioned. Visibility is being redirected. Authority is being reassigned. This is not about revenge. It is about order. Heaven does not operate emotionally, it operates strategically. And when order is restored, those who mocked what they didn't understand are forced to confront what they tried to minimize. You were never meant to fight this battle verbally. You were meant to outlast it. And you did. That endurance alone shifted something in realms you cannot see. Here is what you must understand carefully: the reversal will not only elevate you, it will expose motives. Without you saying a word, intentions will surface. Without you confronting anyone, truth will become visible. That is the kind of response being prepared. If this message resonates in a way you cannot logically explain, that is not algorithm, that is alignment. Stay connected. Stay attentive. There is a reason you're hearing this now. Because something is about to move in a way you did not anticipate. And when the first visible sign appears, you will remember this moment. But what happens next will test whether you are ready for the weight of vindication. You remember the first time it happened. Not the loud public moment, but the small one. The conversation that went quiet when you walked in. The message that wasn't answered the same way anymore. The subtle shift in tone that said, "We don't take you seriously." It didn't break you instantly. It just stayed with you. And that's the part no one talks about. Mockery isn't always explosive. Sometimes it's subtle. It hides inside jokes. It disguises itself as just playing. It smiles while it reduces you. And because you're not confrontational, because you don't like drama, you swallowed it. You told yourself it didn't matter. But it did matter. You're human. Words land. Energy shifts. Exclusion feels real. And there were nights you replayed it in your head wondering if maybe they were right. Maybe you were too much. Too quiet. Too intense. Too different. You questioned yourself more than they ever questioned you. And heaven saw that too. Not just the laughter. Not just the arrogance. But the moment you sat alone, asking silently, "Did I do something wrong?" Chosen one, you didn't. The truth is uncomfortable but simple: you were growing, and they were not. Growth exposes stagnation. And when someone refuses to shrink to maintain comfort, insecure people feel threatened. They couldn't control your trajectory. So they tried to control your image. If they could make you look small, maybe they wouldn't feel small. If they could frame you as naive, maybe they wouldn't have to confront their own lack of courage. But here is what you need to understand at a deeper level: heaven doesn't just respond to cruelty. It responds to endurance with integrity. You didn't retaliate. You didn't gossip back. You didn't gather allies to counterattack. You chose dignity when humiliation would have justified revenge. That choice carried weight. And that weight is part of what is shifting things now. This reversal being prepared isn't loud revenge. It's clarity. It's the slow unveiling of who was operating from insecurity and who was operating from purpose. You've noticed something recently, haven't you? Certain dynamics feel unstable now. Certain people seem uneasy around you. The same confidence they had when mocking you feels thinner. Less convincing. That's not coincidence. Truth has a way of making mockery age badly. What once sounded clever now sounds cruel. What once felt powerful now feels petty. And when environments begin to mature, the tone changes. The crowd that once laughed becomes uncomfortable. Not because you demanded respect, but because your consistency forced reflection. This is how heaven responds sometimes, not with lightning, but with exposure. Slow, undeniable exposure. You may not wake up tomorrow to applause. That's not how this works. But you will begin to notice something subtle. Doors that once resisted you start to open without tension. Conversations that once dismissed you carry a different tone. Opportunities begin to align in ways you didn't orchestrate. And the ones who mocked? They will sense it before they admit it. They will feel the shift before they understand it. Because elevation has a frequency. When someone is being repositioned, the atmosphere around them changes first. You might even feel it inside yourself, a steadiness returning. A calm confidence that doesn't need validation. A quiet knowing that you survived something that was meant to shrink you. That's not pride. That's refinement. Heaven never wastes humiliation. It uses it as preparation. You were learning how to carry misunderstanding without losing your identity. You were learning how to endure invisibility without chasing attention. Those lessons are expensive. And expensive lessons come with expensive outcomes. There is a reason the response is public. Because the mockery was public. Not necessarily on a stage, but in perception. In narrative. In reputation. So the correction will be visible. Not exaggerated. Not theatrical. Visible. And when it begins, your greatest test will not be proving them wrong. It will be staying grounded. Because vindication can intoxicate just as easily as humiliation can wound. Do not let their past laughter harden you. The reversal is not permission to become arrogant. It is confirmation that you were never what they labeled you to be. Stay steady. Stay focused. Keep building quietly. If this message is hitting something personal, if it feels uncomfortably accurate, don't ignore that. There's a reason it found you now. Stay connected. Stay aware. Something is unfolding that requires maturity to handle. And what begins to surface next will reveal who truly miscalculated. There's something you need to see clearly now, not emotionally, not defensively, but honestly. The reason their laughter cut deep wasn't just because it was cruel. It was because, at one point, you valued their opinion. That's what made it sting. You respected them. You expected fairness. Maybe you even hoped for support. So when mockery came instead of understanding, it felt like betrayal wrapped in humor. And betrayal disguised as humor is one of the most confusing wounds to process. Because you can't always confront it. If you react, you look too sensitive. If you stay quiet, they assume it didn't matter. So you carried it privately. You kept showing up. You kept doing your work. You kept improving yourself while pretending their words weren't echoing in the background of your mind. But improvement under quiet pressure builds a different kind of strength. Not loud strength. Not aggressive strength. Refined strength. And that refinement is what heaven has been watching closely. Understand this carefully. Mockery reveals more about the speaker than the target. It exposes insecurity, jealousy, fear of displacement. People rarely mock what is irrelevant. They mock what unsettles them. And you unsettled them. Not because you were perfect, but because you were progressing. While they stayed comfortable, you kept evolving. While they recycled old conversations, you developed new skills. While they relied on group approval, you learned to stand alone. That kind of growth threatens people who measure their worth by comparison. So they laughed. But laughter loses power when the person being mocked doesn't collapse. You didn't collapse. You bent some days. You questioned yourself some nights. You felt isolated more than you admitted. But you did not shrink your calling to fit their comfort. And that is where the shift truly began. Heaven responds differently to those who endure without corrupting their character. You could have become bitter. You could have sharpened your tongue. You could have used their tactics against them. But you didn't. That restraint is not weakness. It is discipline. And discipline attracts authority. Now something subtle is happening. The same people who once reduced you are beginning to sense distance. Not physical distance, internal distance. You no longer seek their validation. You no longer replay their comments the same way. You no longer need their approval to move forward. That shift changes dynamics. Because mockery only works when the target still craves acceptance. And you've outgrown that craving. Chosen one, this is where the public reversal starts forming shape. Not with dramatic announcements, but with undeniable contrast. Your consistency is becoming visible. Your progress is becoming measurable. Your calm confidence is becoming noticeable. And people are quietly recalibrating how they see you. Even those who mocked you. Some of them are confused. They expected you to react emotionally. They expected confrontation. They expected you to defend yourself and give them more material to laugh about. Instead, you improved. That improvement is confronting them in ways arguments never could. And here's the part you must prepare for: when perception shifts, so does behavior. You may start receiving unexpected respect from the same voices that once dismissed you. You may notice compliments where sarcasm once lived. You may even sense attempts to reconnect casually, as if nothing happened. Be wise. Forgive internally, but observe externally. The reversal is not about revenge. It is about realignment. Not everyone who mocked you will apologize. Some will adjust silently. Some will pretend they always believed in you. Some will act as if their laughter was harmless. Let them. You are not responsible for rewriting their memory. You are responsible for stewarding your elevation with humility. Because the moment you become what they were, the cycle restarts. Heaven did not prepare this shift so you could mirror their insecurity. It prepared it so you could walk differently. So you could understand that validation from unstable sources was never necessary. There is a maturity forming in you now. You're less reactive. Less desperate to prove. Less concerned with perception. That maturity is protection. And protection precedes promotion. If you feel something building, not outside yet, but inside, that's confirmation. A steadiness. A quiet anticipation. A sense that something is about to surface in your life that makes the past tension make sense. Don't rush it. Don't announce it prematurely. Let it unfold. Because what is about to happen will not just correct narrative, it will expand influence. And influence requires a different level of composure. The laughter behind your back reached higher than they realized. And what is being prepared now will reach further than they intended. But the next phase will test something deeper than your patience. It will test your posture when the spotlight shifts. Let's bring this closer to your real life. This wasn't just some vague mockery. It was that meeting where your idea was brushed aside, and 5 minutes later, someone else repeated it and everyone nodded. It was the group chat that went silent when you shared something serious, but exploded when someone cracked a joke about you. It was a family gathering where your efforts were minimized while someone less disciplined was celebrated loudly. You smiled through it. You said, "It's fine." But when you got home, you felt it. You replayed the moment in your head while staring at the ceiling. You questioned whether you were overthinking. You told yourself not to be dramatic. That's real. And heaven does not ignore real. Even Jesus experienced this kind of dismissal. When he returned to Nazareth, the people who watched him grow up said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" They reduced the miraculous to something familiar. Later, soldiers placed a robe on him, pressed a crown of thorns into his head, and mocked him saying, "Hail, King." They laughed while standing inches away from the authority they couldn't comprehend. Mockery often stands closest to destiny without recognizing it. And that's what happened to you. Some of the people who laughed at you were standing close to your growth. They saw your discipline. They saw your late nights. They saw your restraint. But familiarity made them comfortable enough to belittle what they didn't fully understand. You weren't loud about your vision. You didn't announce your sacrifices. So they assumed there wasn't much there. But what they didn't see were the private decisions. The times you chose integrity over shortcuts. The opportunities you turned down because they compromised your values. The silent prayers you prayed when you felt overlooked. That matters. Heaven responds to what is hidden, not what is advertised. And here's something very practical: you've probably already noticed subtle shifts. Maybe that supervisor who once overlooked you is now watching your work more closely. Maybe someone who laughed before is suddenly asking for your advice. Maybe opportunities are appearing in ways that feel random. They're not random. Public reversal doesn't always mean public apology. Sometimes it means visible favor. And visible favor makes people uncomfortable. Be prepared for mixed reactions. Some will quietly respect you. Some will try to align with you. Some will feel exposed without you exposing them. That's the weight of elevation. But remember Jesus again, when the crowd that once shouted, "Hosanna," later shouted, "Crucify," his posture didn't swing with their opinion. Your posture must not swing either. If they start praising you, stay grounded. If they stay silent, stay grounded. If they pretend nothing happened, stay grounded. Because the response from heaven is not about ego restoration. It's about alignment restoration. You were never meant to be validated by unstable voices. You were meant to be refined by resistance. And resistance has refined you. Think about who you are now compared to when the mockery first started. You're less eager to prove. Less reactive. More observant. More self-controlled. That transformation alone is evidence that what was meant to humiliate you actually matured you. And maturity attracts responsibility. Responsibility attracts influence. Influence attracts visibility. That visibility is coming. Not chaotic visibility. Strategic visibility. The same environments that underestimated you will witness your steadiness under pressure. And steadiness speaks louder than revenge ever could. If you're still listening, still reading, still leaning into this message, that's not by accident. Something inside you recognizes the timing. Because what's about to unfold won't just silence laughter. It will redefine perception. And the final phase of this reversal will require something even harder than endurance. It will require grace when you finally have the upper hand. Now listen carefully. Because this is where everything turns. The laughter was real. The exclusion was real. The humiliation was real. But so is what is about to happen next. And this next phase will not feel emotional, it will feel undeniable. The reversal is not coming as noise. It's coming as order. You expected thunder. Instead, it will look like alignment. You expected confrontation. Instead, it will look like opportunity. And when it begins, it will almost feel quiet, but its impact will be loud. Here is how this divine reversal will unfold in real life. First, your credibility will rise without campaigning. You won't suddenly become louder. You won't post more. You won't argue more. But people will start noticing the consistency they once ignored. That coworker who dismissed your ideas will now double-check your opinion. That relative who minimized you will begin mentioning your discipline in conversations. You won't force this shift. It will happen because stability eventually exposes instability. Second, access will change. Doors that felt blocked will open without drama. Invitations will come from unexpected places. Conversations you were once excluded from will now require your presence. Not because you begged your way in, but because your growth made you necessary. When heaven reorders perception, access adjusts automatically. Third, your inner reaction will surprise you. This is important. You might think that when the reversal happens, you'll feel triumphant. But what you'll actually feel is calm. Not because the pain didn't matter, but because you've outgrown the need to win emotionally. You'll look at the same people who laughed and think, they didn't understand. That's all. And that maturity will protect you. Fourth, exposure will happen without you exposing anyone. You won't have to reveal their behavior. Patterns reveal themselves over time. The same sarcasm they used on you will eventually land wrong on someone else. The same insecurity will become visible when you are no longer the target. And people will start connecting dots on their own. That's the kind of justice that doesn't require your fingerprints. Fifth, and this is crucial, you must respond differently than they did. When your influence grows, don't mock back. When your authority increases, don't belittle. When your platform expands, don't become what hurt you. Because the final proof of divine reversal is not elevation alone, it's transformation. Remember Jesus standing before those who mocked him. He could have silenced them instantly. He could have proven himself dramatically. But restraint was part of the victory. And later, the same resurrection that shocked history also exposed every voice that laughed at the cross. Power doesn't need to perform to prove itself. And neither do you. Chosen one, this is not just about them being corrected. It's about you being positioned. Positioned for greater responsibility. Positioned for broader influence. Positioned for environments where mockery cannot survive because integrity sets the standard. If you're still here, still absorbing this, don't scroll away from what you feel right now. That pull inside you, that quiet confirmation, isn't random. Stay connected. Stay aligned. There's a reason messages like this find you at specific moments. Here is your posture moving forward. Keep building quietly. Let results speak before reactions do. Forgive internally so bitterness doesn't contaminate elevation. Observe more than you announce. Stay teachable even when you're rising. These aren't rules to control you. They are safeguards to protect what's coming. Because the final stage of reversal is visibility. And visibility amplifies everything. Strength or weakness. What's coming will make it clear that the laughter was premature. That the dismissal was short-sighted. That the narrative they tried to write about you was incomplete. But more importantly, it will make something clear to you. You were never behind. You were being prepared. Every awkward silence. Every overlooked moment. Every sarcastic comment. It built a steadiness in you that applause never could. And when the shift becomes obvious, when the respect feels real, when the access expands, when the atmosphere changes, don't look for their reaction first. Look at who you've become. That will be the real victory. Because heaven responding is not just about correcting others. It's about revealing you. And when this next door opens, and it won't just silence laughter. It will redefine the room. Now the only question is this. When the room changes, will you remember who you were when no one was clapping?